9-year-old Annie Grace Harper's bare feet had turned blue in the snow. Behind her, the Garrett family had bolted their doors. Ahead, nothing but white death stretched to the horizon. She was going to die tonight, and nobody in the whole world would care. The slap came without warning. Annie hit the kitchen floor hard, blood filling her mouth where she'd bitten clean through her tongue. Mrs. Garrett stood over, her hand raised for another strike. "Where is it?" The woman's voice shook with rage. "My emerald ring, where did you hide it?" "I didn't take anything, ma'am." Annie scrambled backward until her spine hit the wall. "I swear on my mama's grave, I never—" The second slap split her lip open. 3 years. Mrs. Garrett's face was purple with fury. 3 years she'd fed this ungrateful child, clothed her, kept her out of the gutter. And this was how the girl repaid them. Theft. "I didn't." Annie tasted copper on her tongue, the metallic taste of her own blood. "I wouldn't never." Heavy footsteps filled the doorway. Silas Garrett was a big man running to fat now, with small eyes that reminded Annie of the wild boars that sometimes came down from the mountains. Mean eyes, meaner hands. She confessed, his voice was flat, emotionless, lying through her teeth. Mrs. Garrett crossed her arms. "I saw her sneaking out of our bedroom this morning." "I was changing the sheets," Annie's voice cracked. "You told me to, ma'am. That's all I done." Silas Garrett stepped closer. His shadow fell across Annie's face, blocking out the lamplight. "Search her room." "Already did. Nothing there." "Why?" Mrs. Garrett's lips twisted into something that might have been a smile on someone kinder. "Probably buried it somewhere outside, planning to dig it up later and run off." "I didn't steal nothing." Annie was crying now. She couldn't help it. 3 years of holding it together, of keeping her head down, of trying to be invisible. And now this. "Please, Mr. Garrett. 3 years I worked for you. I never took a crumb that wasn't given. Ask anybody." "Ain't nobody to ask." He reached down and grabbed her collar, yanking her to her feet like she weighed nothing. "You got no people, girl. No family, no friends. Just your word against my wife's." His smile was the coldest thing Annie had ever seen. "Who you think folks going to believe?" Annie knew. She'd always known. Nobody believed orphans. Nobody ever had. "Please," the word came out broken. "Don't send me away. I'll work harder. I'll do anything you want. Just don't—" "Should have thought of that before you turned thief." Garrett dragged her toward the back door. Through the window, Annie could see the storm building. Dark clouds rolling in from the north, the kind that brought blizzards. The kind that killed. "It's snowing," she said. The words came out small, frightened. "Mr. Garrett, there's a blizzard coming. The men in town said it's going to be the worst in 20 years. "Should have thought of that, too." He threw open the door. The cold hit Annie like a fist to the chest. Wind screamed into the kitchen, carrying snow that stung like needles against her skin. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. "5 minutes," Garrett said. "Get your things or go without them." Annie ran. Her room wasn't really a room at all, just a closet off the kitchen with a cot pushed against one wall. She grabbed everything she owned. It took about 3 seconds. One spare dress, more patches than original fabric. Worn stockings with holes in the heels. A shawl so thin you could see through it when you held it up to the light. And the locket. She pulled it from under her mattress where she'd kept it hidden for 3 years. Silver tarnished and old, with 2 letters scratched on the back. VA inside was a picture of a woman. Dark hair, sad eyes, beautiful in a way that made Annie's chest hurt. She didn't know who the woman was. Her mama maybe, or maybe not. She didn't know anything about where she came from, who her people were, why she'd been left with old Hiram Poole when she was just a baby. But somebody had given her this locket. Somebody had loved her once, even if she couldn't remember it. Annie pressed it to her lips. "I'm sorry, Mama," she whispered. "I tried to be good. I really tried." "Time's up." She fastened the chain around her neck and walked back to face whatever came next. Mrs. Garrett shoved a bundle at her. Bread and cheese wrapped in cloth. More than the girl deserved, really, but the woman wasn't a monster. Just practical. "Hold on." Garrett grabbed Annie's arm, spun her around. His hands patted down her dress, rough and careless, checking for stolen goods. They stopped at her chest. His fingers found the chain. "What's this?" "It's mine." Annie's hand flew to the locket covering it. "Please, it's all I got. It was my mama's." He yanked the chain. The clasp bit into the back of Annie's neck, then broke. The locket dangled from his thick fingers, spinning slowly in the lamplight. Nice silver. He turned it over, studying the initials. Something changed in his face, something Annie didn't understand. Recognition, maybe, or fear. VA, huh? He opened the locket, looked at the portrait inside. That strange expression deepened. Please give it back. Tears streamed down Annie's cheeks. Please, Mr. Garrett. It's the only thing I got of her. Please. He studied the picture for a long moment. His jaw worked like he was chewing on words he didn't want to say. Then he pocketed the locket. I'll keep this as payment for what you stole, he said. We're square now. But I didn't. Get out. Mrs. Garrett opened the back door again. The storm had gotten worse. Annie couldn't see past the porch steps. Just white. Endless white. Go on, the woman said, before I have him fetch his rifle. Annie looked at them. These people who'd worked her like a dog for 3 years, fed her scraps, beat her when they felt like it, never once said a kind word. She wanted to scream, wanted to fight, wanted to tell them they were monsters and God would punish them for what they'd done. Instead, she walked out into the snow. The door slammed behind her. She heard the bolt slide home. And just like that, Annie Grace Harper was alone in the world. She started humming. It was something she did when she was scared, an old habit going back as far as she could remember. Some tune she'd known before she knew anything else. It didn't have words, just notes, rising and falling, soft as breath. The humming helped her walk, one foot then the other. The snow was up to her knees already, and the wind cut through her dress like it wasn't there. Her feet went numb first, then her hands, then everything, but she kept humming. Just get to town, she told herself. 3 miles. You've walked farther than that lots of times, except she couldn't see the road anymore. Everything was white. White above white, below white, all around. She could have been walking in circles, could have been walking straight off a cliff. Hello, she called out. Anybody there? Help! The wind ate her voice. She fell, got up, fell again, got up again. The third time she fell, getting up was harder. Her legs wouldn't work right. Her arms wouldn't push. Come on, she told herself. Her voice was just a croak now. Come on. Get up, get up. But her body had decided it was done whether she agreed or not. Annie lay in the snow, staring up at the white sky. Strange thing was, she wasn't even cold anymore. She'd heard about that. Folks freezing to death stopped feeling it near the end, got warm even, peaceful. Mama, she whispered. Mama, are you there? No answer, just the wind. I'm coming to see you now. Annie's eyes drifted closed. I'm coming. She was still humming when the darkness took her. Cole Maverick almost rode right past her. He was fighting his way home through the worst blizzard he'd seen in 20 years, cursing himself for a fool. Should have stayed put in town when the sky turned ugly. Should have trusted his gut instead of worrying about a few head of cattle that were probably smart enough to find shelter on their own. Now here he was, half frozen, barely able to see his horse's ears in front of him. Come on, Smoke. He patted the gray gelding's neck. The horse was tired, wanting to stop, but Cole kept him moving. Almost there, boy. Keep moving. Smoke stopped. What the hell? Cole kicked his flanks. Move, you stubborn piece of... The horse wouldn't budge. He was staring at something, ears pricked forward, snorting hard. Cole followed his gaze. Blue. A patch of faded blue against all that white. No. The word came out before he could stop it. No, no, no. He was out of the saddle and wading through the drifts before he'd finished the thought. His heart hammered against his ribs. Please, God, please don't let it be what I think it is. It was a child, a little girl lying face up in the snow, eyes closed, skin the color of old wax, not moving, not breathing far as he could tell. Damn it. Cole dropped to his knees, yanking off his gloves. His fingers found her throat, pressing hard. Come on, come on. Give me something. There. A pulse faint as a dying whisper. But there. All right. He stripped off his coat, the heavy sheepskin one that had cost him $50 in Denver. Wrapped it around her. The girl weighed nothing, absolutely nothing. Just bones and frozen skin and a heartbeat that was barely hanging on. All right, you're not dead yet. You hear me? You're not dead yet, so don't you dare give up. He gathered her in his arms and stood. Smoke was watching steam rising from his nostrils in the cold air. Good horse. Smart horse. The kind of horse that saved lives, Cole mounted with the child pressed against his chest. The ranch was still a mile away, a mile through hell with a dying girl in his arms. You stay with me, he growled at her. Don't you quit. You understand, don't you dare quit. The girl's lips moved, blue and cracked but moving. Cole leaned closer. What? His voice was rough. What did you say? A whisper. Barely a breath. Didn't steal nothing. Something twisted in Cole's chest. Something he'd kept locked away for 8 years. Something that felt like his heart remembering how to break. I know you didn't, he said. Now hold on. He kicked Smoke into a gallop and rode for home like the devil himself was chasing him. Elena, get out here now! The front door flew open. Elena Cruz rushed onto the porch, shawl clutched around her shoulders against the cold. She was 48 years old, had worked for Cole Maverick for 10 years. And in all that time, she'd never heard that note in his voice. Pure terror. She saw the bundle in his arms and her face went white. Dios mío, where did you... Found her in the snow. She's dying. Move. Elena didn't waste time with questions. By the time Cole carried the girl inside, she had blankets spread before the fire and water heating on the stove. Put her here, gently. Cole laid the child down. Elena was already stripping off the frozen dress, moving fast but careful. Years ago, she'd lost her own daughter to fever. She knew how fragile children were, how quickly they could slip away. Mother of God, look at her. The girl was nothing but skin and bones, ribs you could count, arms thin as kindling. She's starving. Can you save her? Cole's voice was tight. I don't know. Elena wrapped the child in quilts. Get more blankets and the whiskey. Whiskey? She's 9 years old. For her blood. Go. Cole went. When he came back, Elena had the girl bundled tight, rubbing her feet with hands that never stopped moving. Her feet. The toes were white, bloodless. Her toes, Elena's voice was grim. Her fingers. We'll see. What do you mean we'll see? I mean we'll see if she keeps them or loses them. Elena glanced up. Who is she? Where did she come from? I don't know. Found her about a mile out, just lying there in a drift. Cole's hands curled into fists. Like somebody left her there to die. Elena pulled back the quilt slightly, turned the child onto her side. Madre de Dios, look. Cole looked. Scars, old ones layered over each other, crisscrossing the child's back. Like a road map of pain. Belt marks, switch marks. The kind that came from years of beatings. His hands curled into fists so tight his knuckles went white. Somebody did this to her, Elena said quietly. For a long time. And then they threw her out like garbage. Cole said nothing. Couldn't speak past the rage building in his throat. Help me with the heated stones, Elena said. We have to get her warm. They worked through the night. Elena heated rocks in the fire and wrapped them in cloth, packing them around the child's body. She dripped warm whiskey and water between the blue lips, talking the whole time in Spanish. Soft words, prayers maybe. Cole did what he was told. Fetched water, stoked the fire, held the child's hand even though she couldn't feel it. She was so small, so damn small. She ain't mine, he said suddenly. The words came out harsh. She ain't my problem. Soon as she's well, I'll find her people and send her back where she came from. Elena looked up from rubbing the girl's feet, said nothing. I mean it, Cole said. I can't take in some stray kid. I got a ranch to run. I heard you. Elena went back to her work. Then why are you looking at me like that? Like what, senor? Like you don't believe a word I'm saying. Elena's eyes met his, dark and knowing. Because your hand hasn't let go of hers in 3 hours. Cole looked down. The girl's small fingers were wrapped around his, gripping tight, even in unconsciousness. He didn't let go. Sometime past midnight, the girl started shivering. Not gentle trembles, but violent convulsions that shook her whole body, chattering her teeth so hard Cole thought they might crack. Is that bad? He was on his feet, heart pounding. Should we? It's good. For the first time, Elena's voice held something it hadn't before. Hope. Her body is fighting. The blood is moving again. She's having a fit. She's warming up. Hold her. Keep her still. Cole gathered the girl against his chest, trying to steady her through the shaking. She was so light, so fragile, like holding a baby bird. "That's it," he murmured. Words he hadn't spoken in 8 years. The kind of words he'd said to Benjamin when the fever had him. "That's it. Keep fighting. Don't give up on me." The shivering went on for hours. Elena kept working, kept checking, kept praying in Spanish under her breath. Cole kept holding, kept talking, kept willing this child he didn't even know to stay alive. Near dawn, the shivering stopped. Cole's heart seized. "Elena!" "Wait!" The girl's eyes opened. Green, bright spring green startling against her pale face. They looked up at Cole with confusion, with fear, with something else he couldn't name. "You're safe," he said. His voice came out rough. "You're at my ranch. You're safe now." Her cracked lips moved. He leaned closer. "What is it?" "He took my locket." Then her eyes closed again, and she was gone back into sleep. "What locket?" Cole looked at Elena. "What is she talking about?" "I don't know." Elena crossed herself. "But she's alive. That's enough for now." The girl drifted for 2 days, in and out of sleep, in and out of fever dreams. Sometimes she'd cry out names Cole didn't recognize, words that made no sense. Once she screamed so loud it brought him running from the barn, convinced she was dying. She wasn't dying, just dreaming. Elena barely left her side. Cole found himself checking every hour, standing in the doorway like some kind of fool watching the small figure lost in that big bed. "She'll live," Elena told him on the second night. "Her fingers are saved. Her toes, too." "Good." Cole stared at the sleeping child. "What happens when she wakes up proper? What do I do with her? What do you want to do with her?" "Send her somewhere safe. Find her people. And if her people are the ones who hurt her..." Cole didn't answer. He already knew. Whoever had scarred that child's back wasn't getting anywhere near her again. Not while he was breathing. On the third morning, Elena found him in his study, staring out the window at nothing. "She's awake," Elena said. "Asking for you." "For me, she doesn't know me. She knows you saved her life." Elena's expression was soft. "Go." She's scared. The girl was sitting up when Cole walked in, propped against pillows that dwarfed her. Hair washed and brushed, looking even younger in the daylight. Those green eyes fixed on him immediately. "You're the man on the horse," she said. Her voice was hoarse but steady. "You found me." "That's right." He stayed by the door, not wanting to crowd her, not wanting to scare her more than she already was. "Name's Cole Maverick. Folks call me Cole." "I'm Annie." A pause. "Annie Grace Harper, but everybody just calls me Annie." "Annie." He tried out the name. "How you feeling?" "Better. I thought I was dead." "You almost were." "I know." No tears, no trembling, just that too steady voice that didn't belong to a 9-year-old. "I was ready for it. Figured I'd get to see my mama." Cole's chest tightened. "Your mama? She's dead, died when I was born. I don't remember her." Annie's hand went to her collarbone, searching for something that wasn't there. "But I had her picture, in a locket. Mr. Garrett took it." "Garrett." The name landed like a stone. "That who you were living with?" Annie's face changed. The steadiness cracked. "Please don't send back. Please, Mr. Cole. I didn't steal nothing. I know that's what they said, but I didn't. Mrs. Garrett's ring just went missing, and she blamed me, but I never touched it. I swear." "Annie, I'll work hard. I'll do whatever you want. I can cook and clean and tend animals. I won't be no trouble, I promise. Just please don't." "Annie." Cole stepped forward, then stopped when she flinched. "Nobody's sending you anywhere." She stared at him, waiting for the catch. "Not until you're well," he said, "and not unless you want to go." "Why, boy, the word came out small, confused. "Why spark you being nice to me? You don't know me. I ain't nothing to you." "Because I can't watch another child die. Because you grabbed my hand in your sleep and wouldn't let go. Because something about you reminds me of everything I lost. Because it's the right thing to do," he said instead. "Now tell me what happened, all of it." Annie told him. She told him about Hiram Poole, the farmer who'd raised her until she was 6, who'd sold her to the Garretts for $20 cash when the money ran out. She told him about 3 years of scrubbing floors and hauling water and being treated worse than the family dog. She told him about the beatings when she didn't work fast enough, the meals she went without when Mrs. Garrett was feeling spiteful. She told him about the ring, the accusation, the blizzard, and she told him about the locket. "It's all I have," her voice finally broke. "The only thing that was ever really mine." And he took it. He saw the initials and something changed in his face, like he recognized them, like they meant something. What initials? VA on the back. I don't know what they stand for, but the picture inside, Annie wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She was pretty. Sad, but pretty. I used to look at her every night before I went to sleep. Pretend she was my mama. Pretend she was watching over me. Cole's mind was working. VA, a silver locket. Garrett's reaction when he saw it. This child had a story, and he had a feeling it was bigger than anyone knew. "Annie, how'd you end up with that farmer in the first place before the Garretts?" "Don't know. Been with him far back as I remember. He said somebody paid him to take me when I was a baby. Never told me who." "And nobody ever came looking for you?" "No, sir." Annie's voice went small. "Nobody ever wanted me." The words hit Cole like a punch to the gut. He thought about Benjamin, his boy. 5 years old with Sarah's smile and Cole's stubborn streak. They'd wanted him so bad it hurt. Loved him so fierce it nearly killed them when the fever took him. Some children were wanted so much their parents couldn't survive losing them. And some children were thrown away like they were nothing. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. It wasn't anything close to just. "Annie." He crossed to the bed and knelt beside it, putting himself at her eye level. "You listening to me?" She nodded. "You're staying here long as you need to, long as you want to. Nobody's going to hurt you again. And tomorrow?" His jaw tightened. "Tomorrow I'm riding to the Garrett place to get your locket back." Those green eyes went wide. "You'd do that for me?" "I would." "But why?" Cole didn't have an answer that made sense. Didn't have words for the thing cracking open inside his chest. The thing he'd kept buried since Sarah and Benjamin went into the ground. "I knew a kid once," he said finally. "Long time ago. Now get some rest." He stood to go, but a small hand caught his sleeve. "Mr. Cole." "Yeah. That song you were humming when you carried me in from the snow. Where'd you learn it?" Cole went still. "What song?" "The one without words, rising and falling. I know it from somewhere, but I can't remember where." Ice ran down Cole's spine. He hadn't been humming. He'd been focused on keeping her alive, on getting her to the ranch, on not losing another child. He hadn't made a sound. "Get some rest," he said again. "We'll talk more tomorrow." But as he walked down the stairs, his hands were shaking. Because he knew that song. Sarah used to hum it every night, rocking Benjamin to sleep. And he'd never told a soul. That night, Cole sat on the back porch, staring at the snow-covered prairie that stretched endlessly toward the mountains. The storm had passed, leaving the world clean and white and silent. He should have felt peaceful. Instead, his mind churned with questions that had no answers. Elena found him there, wrapped in her heavy shawl, a cup of coffee in her hand. "You should sleep, senor." "Can't." Cole's voice was flat. The child. She was humming a song, same song Sarah used to sing to Benjamin. Elena went still. The coffee cup paused halfway to her lips. Perhaps a coincidence. Maybe. Cole shook his head. Or maybe I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. "What will you do?" "Get her locket back. Find out what Garrett knows about where she came from." Cole's hands curled into fists. "And make damn sure nobody hurts her again. And after when she is well," silence stretched between them. Cole watched the moon rise over the distant peaks, casting silver light across the snow. "She stays," he said finally. "God help me. She stays." Elena nodded, no surprise in her expression, like she'd known all along. "You are a good man, Cole Maverick." "I'm not." "You are, even if you don't believe it." She touched his arm gently. "That little girl needs a father, and perhaps you need a daughter." Cole said nothing, but when Elena went inside, he stayed on that porch for a long time, watching the snow fall and thinking about second chances. Inside the house, Annie slept without nightmares for the first time in 3 years. She didn't know that her life had changed forever. She didn't know that the man who'd pulled her from the snow was about to become her fiercest protector. She didn't know that her locket held secrets that would shake the foundations of everything she believed about herself. All she knew was that someone had come for her. Someone had carried her through the storm. Someone had said she could stay. For the first time in her 9 years of life, Annie Grace Harper fell asleep feeling something she'd never felt before. Safe. Cole was saddling smoke before the sun cleared the mountains. Elena found him in the barn, breath fogging in the cold morning air. She had that look on her face, the one that meant she was about to say something he didn't want to hear. "You're going alone." "Yep." Cole tightened the cinch, checked the rifle in its scabbard, made sure his Colt was loaded. "That is foolish." "Probably, but it's between me and Garrett. Don't need to involve anyone else. And if he has men, if he decides to make trouble, then I'll make trouble back." Cole's jaw was set the way it got when he'd made a decision that couldn't be unmade. "Keep an eye on the girl. Don't let her out of your sight. She asked for you this morning, wanted to know where you were." Cole paused, hand on the saddle horn. "What did you tell her?" "That you had business to attend to." Elena stepped closer. "She got very quiet after that. She thinks you're leaving, that you've changed your mind about letting her stay." "I haven't changed my mind." "Then perhaps you should tell her that before you go." Cole wanted to argue, wanted to say he didn't have time, that Garrett might decide to skip town if he waited too long. But Elena was right. She usually was. He found Annie in the kitchen, pushing eggs around her plate like they'd done something to offend her. She looked up when he walked in, and her face went through about 6 different emotions before settling on careful blankness. "Morning," Cole said. "Morning, sir." "You don't have to call me, sir." "Cole's fine." "Yes, sir. I mean, yes, Cole." He pulled out a chair and sat across from her. She was watching him like a rabbit watches a hawk, ready to bolt at the first sign of danger. "Elena says you think I'm leaving." Annie's jaw tightened. "Aren't you?" "I'm going to the Garrett place, getting your locket back." Those green eyes went wide. "You meant that? I thought maybe you were just saying it to make me feel better." "I don't say things I don't mean." Cole held her gaze. "I'll be back before dark. Elena's going to look after you while I'm gone. You need anything, you ask her." "What if Mr. Garrett won't give it back?" "Then I'll convince him. He's mean. He's got a temper." "So do I." Something flickered across Annie's face. Not quite a smile, but close. "You don't seem like a mean man to me." "I'm not. Not to folks who deserve kindness." Cole stood. "But to men who hurt children and steal what ain't theirs, I can be plenty mean when I need to be." He was halfway to the door when her voice stopped him. "Mr. Cole." He turned. "Yeah. Be careful, please." It was such a small thing. 2 words. But something about the way she said them, the worry in her voice, hit Cole harder than he expected. "I will," he said. "You just eat your breakfast and mind Elena. I'll be back before you know it." The ride to Garrett's trading post took 3 hours. 3 hours of Cole rehearsing what he was going to say, what he was going to do. 3 hours of his anger building like steam in a kettle. The trading post sat at a crossroads about 15 miles east of town. Rough wooden building with a false front trying to look bigger and more important than it was. A few horses tied out front. Smoke curling from the chimney. Cole dismounted and tied Smoke to the hitching post, checked his pistol, walked inside. The smell hit him first. Tobacco and unwashed bodies and something sour underneath. A handful of men were scattered around the room nursing drinks or playing cards. They looked up when Cole entered, sized him up, went back to their business. Silas Garrett stood behind the counter tallying figures in a ledger. He was a big man running to fat with small eyes that reminded Cole of things that lived under rocks. "Help you." Garrett didn't look up from his numbers. "You know who I am." Now Garrett looked up. His eyes narrowed. "Maverick. Got that spread up north." "That's right. I found something of yours 3 days ago, out in the snow." "That's so, Garrett's hand drifted below the counter. "Probably had a shotgun down there." "Can't think what that might be." "A child. Little girl about 9 years old. Dark red hair, green eyes." Cole's voice was quiet, dangerous. "Ring any bells?" The men at the card table had stopped playing. The room had gone very quiet. "Don't know what you're talking about." Garrett's voice was flat. "Must have me confused with somebody else." "Her name's Annie. Annie Grace Harper. She says she lived here for 3 years. Says your wife accused her of stealing and you threw her out into a blizzard to die. Girl's a liar and a thief. Whatever she told you, it ain't true. Cole stepped closer to the counter, close enough to see the sweat starting on Garrett's forehead. She also says you took something from her. A locket, silver with the initials VA on the back. Something flickered in Garrett's eyes. Fear, greed, both. I want it back, Cole said. Can't give back what I don't have. That's interesting, because Annie says you put it in your pocket right before you threw her out. Cole's hand rested on his gun belt, not threatening, just there. She was pretty clear about that. Like I said, the girl's a liar, got a wild imagination. Garrett's hand was definitely on that shotgun now. Now I think you'd better leave. I got business to attend to. I'm going to ask you one more time. Nice and polite. Cole's voice dropped even lower. Give me the locket. And I'm going to tell you one more time, I don't have it. Now get the hell out of my establishment before I... Cole moved fast. His hand shot out and grabbed Garrett's wrist before the man could bring up the shotgun. He twisted hard, heard the satisfying crack of bones shifting, and slammed Garrett's face into the counter. The men at the card table jumped to their feet. One of them reached for his gun. I wouldn't, Cole said, not looking away from Garrett. This is between me and him, unless you boys want to make it your business too. Nobody moved. Now, and Cole pressed harder, grinding Garrett's cheek into the wood. Let's try this again. Where's the locket? You're breaking my arm. Garrett's voice was muffled, panicked. Not yet, but I will if you don't start talking. All right. Those words came out in a rush. It's in my pocket. Left side. Take it. Just let me go. Cole reached into the man's coat and found it immediately. Silver tarnished with a delicate chain. He flipped it open with one hand and saw the portrait inside. A dark-haired woman with sad eyes. Beautiful. Haunted. VA. There now. Cole released Garrett and stepped back. That wasn't so hard, was it? Garrett straightened up, face red with fury and humiliation. Blood trickled from his nose where it had hit the counter. You're making a mistake, Maverick. His voice shook. You don't know what you're messing with. That girl ain't what she seems. That locket... He stopped himself, eyes darting to the other men in the room. You don't know who she belongs to. She belongs to herself, and now she's under my protection. Cole pocketed the locket. If I ever see you anywhere near my ranch, if I hear you've been asking about her or spreading lies, I'll come back here and finish what I started. We clear, Garrett said nothing, just glared with those pig eyes full of hate. I asked if we're clear. Crystal. Good. Cole tipped his hat to the silent men at the card table. Gentlemen, sorry to interrupt your game. He walked out without looking back. But as he mounted smoke and turned toward home, Garrett's words kept echoing in his head. You don't know who she belongs to. What the hell did that mean? The ride home was faster than the ride out. Cole pushed smoke hard, that locket burning a hole in his pocket. He kept thinking about the initials. VA, about Garrett's face when he'd mentioned them. About the fear underneath the man's bluster. There was a story here, a secret, and somehow that little girl sleeping in his guest room was at the center of it. Elena met him in the yard, relief plain on her face. You're back, and in one piece. Told you I would be. Cole dismounted and handed her smoke's reins. Where's Annie? In the kitchen. She's been watching the window all day. Elena's eyes searched his face. Did you get it? The locket. Cole pulling it from his pocket. Elena crossed herself. Gracias a Dios. Go give it to her. She needs to see that you kept your word. He found Annie exactly where Elena said she'd be, sitting at the kitchen table staring out the window, hands folded tight in her lap. She turned when she heard his footsteps and her whole body tensed. You came back. Said I would. I know, but... She stopped, swallowed hard. People don't always do what they say they will, in my experience. Cole crossed to the table and sat down across from her. Close your eyes. What? Close your eyes and hold out your hand. Annie looked suspicious, but she did it. Cole took her hands, so small, so thin, and placed the locket in her palm. Now open them. She opened her eyes, looked down, and burst into tears. My locket. She clutched it to her chest, sobbing. You got it back. You really got it back. Told you I would. But how Mr. Garrett wouldn't have just given it to you. He wanted it. I could tell by the way he looked at it. Let's just say we had a conversation. Annie opened the locket, stared at the portrait inside. Her fingers traced the woman's face with a tenderness that made Cole's chest ache. Mr. Garrett said something, didn't he, when you took it back? I can see it in your face. Smart kid. Too smart by half. He said I didn't know who you belonged to. Cole kept his voice careful. You have any idea what that means? No, sir. But something flickered in her expression. Uncertainty. Fear. I don't know nothing about where I came from. Just that somebody paid the farmer to take me when I was a baby. Somebody with money, I guess. Cole filed that information away. Then he stood. Get some rest. We'll talk more later. Mr. Cole, he turned at the door. Thank you for getting my locket back. For everything. Her voice was so small, so grateful. It broke something in him. You're welcome, Annie. Over the next 3 weeks, life at the Maverick Ranch settled into something Cole hadn't felt in 8 years. A rhythm, a purpose, something that felt almost like family. Annie woke early every morning eager to learn. Elena taught her to make tortillas and empanadas, filling the kitchen with the smell of warm dough and spices. The girl had a tendency to eat as much as she made. You'll make yourself sick, Elena teased, swatting her hand away. Don't care. Never had enough food before. Going to make up for it now. Elena laughed, a sound Cole hadn't heard in years. In the afternoons, Cole taught Annie about the ranch. But not just the basics. He showed her everything. One morning, he took her to his office. The room was lined with maps and ledgers, the heart of his operation. This, Cole said, spreading a large map across his desk, is what we built. Annie's eyes went wide. The map showed property boundaries stretching across 3 valleys. Red lines marked fence lines. Blue marked water sources. Black dots indicated line shacks and holding pens. 50,000 acres, Cole said. 10,000 head of cattle. 30 men working full-time. He pointed to different sections. Hereford and Longhorn mix here. Summer pasture here. Winter range here. That's bigger than the whole town. Twice as big. Cole pulled out another map. And here's the territory. We ship cattle to Denver, Cheyenne, even as far as Chicago. Got contracts with 3 railroads. He showed her the telegraph office he'd built on the property, the ice house that kept meat fresh through summer, the veterinary clinic where a full-time doctor treated sick animals. Money's just a tool, Annie, Cole said, watching her take it all in. What matters is what you build with it. My father started with 1,000 acres. I grew it to 50,000. Someday, if you want, you could grow it even more. Annie looked up at him with those green eyes. You really mean that? You'd let me run all this? Every person on this ranch earns their keep by learning. Same goes for you. He squeezed her shoulder. You've got a good mind, Annie. Don't let anybody tell you different. That afternoon, they walked the property. Cole showed her the boundaries, the landmarks, the secret places only he knew. A box canyon perfect for winter shelter. A spring that never ran dry. The ridge where you could see 3 counties on a clear day. This is all yours, Annie asked, breathless. All ours, Cole corrected. You're part of this now. The days turned into a week, then 2. Annie blossomed. She laughed more, ate more. The shadows under her eyes faded. She started to look like a child instead of a frightened animal. Cole found himself checking on her constantly, making sure she was eating enough, making sure she had everything she needed, making sure she knew she was safe. One evening as they stood together watching the sunset paint the mountains gold, Annie spoke quietly. You're different from other grown-ups, Papa Cole. Most folks see orphans as burdens, mouths to feed, extra work. She looked up at him. But you treat me like I'm somebody, like I matter. Cole's throat tightened. You do matter, more than you know. Why? The question was genuine, curious, not pleading. You didn't have to save me, didn't have to keep me, but you did. He was quiet for a long moment, watching the light fade from the sky. I had a son once, Benjamin, and my wife Sarah. Fever took them both 8 years ago. His voice was rough. After that, I thought I was done, thought I'd never feel anything again. But then I found you, and something woke up inside me. Something I thought was dead. Annie slipped her small hand into his. I'm glad you found me. Me too, sweetheart, me too. Elena appeared on the porch behind them. Watched them standing together, father and daughter in all but blood. Her eyes filled with tears. "You love her," she said later, when Annie had gone to bed. Cole didn't deny it. "I didn't mean to." "Love doesn't ask permission." Elena's voice was gentle. "It just happens." "What if something happens to her? What if, then you will have loved her, that is enough." Cole thought about Benjamin, about how he wouldn't trade those 5 years for anything, even knowing how they'd end. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Maybe it is." The telegram arrived on a Thursday morning. Javier brought it up from town, handed it to Cole without a word. The foreman had been with Cole for 15 years. He knew when to talk and when to stay silent. Cole opened it in his office. Read it once, then again, then a third time, his hands starting to shake. Victoria Ashworth, stop, youngest daughter Jeremiah Ashworth. Mining railroad magnate, stop, disappeared 20 years ago. Pregnancy scandal, stop. Family claimed finishing school, stop. Actually died childbirth. Denver Charity Hospital name, Mary Jones, stop. Baby given up, stop. Estate, $15 million in trust for Victoria's child if found, stop. Ashworth, son searching, stop. $15 million. Cole stared at the words until they blurred. Annie wasn't just an orphan. She was an heiress, the granddaughter of one of the wealthiest families in America, and they were looking for her. Senor, Elena appeared in the doorway. "What is it?" Cole handed her the telegram. Watched her face go pale as she read. "Dios mío," she whispered. 15 million. The Ashworths didn't lose Annie. They hit her. Cole's voice was flat, and now they want her back. Not because they love her, because she's worth a fortune. "What do? We protect her." Cole stood. "Whatever it takes." But even as he said it, he knew. The Ashworths had money, power, lawyers. They could crush him like a bug if they wanted to, unless he was ready to crush them first. That night, Cole sat in his study with a glass of whiskey and the locket in his hand. He opened it, stared at Victoria Ashworth's face. Young, beautiful, sad beyond measure. What had they done to her? Shipped her away when she got pregnant. Let her die alone in a charity hospital under a false name. Paid someone to hide her baby like a shameful secret. And now they wanted that baby back. Not out of love, out of greed. "I won't let them take her," Cole said to the portrait. "I promise you, I won't." The door opened. Small footsteps crossed the floor. "Papa Cole." He turned. Annie stood there in her nightgown, barefoot, clutching her locket. Papa Cole. She'd started calling him that a week ago. The name made his heart ache every time. "You should be in bed." Couldn't sleep. She came closer. Bad dreams again. About the blizzard. About being alone. Annie sat in the chair across from his desk. "I keep dreaming that I'm back at the Garretts, that this was all pretend, that I wake up and you're gone and I'm back to being nobody." Cole set down his glass, looked at this child who'd somehow become his whole world in 3 short weeks. "Annie, I need to tell you something." Fear flashed in her eyes. "You're sending me away." "No, never." He came around the desk, pulled up a chair beside her. "But I found out some things about your mama, about where you come from." He told her. Everything about Victoria Ashworth, about the wealthy family, about the $15 million in trust. Annie listened in silence, her face growing paler with each word. "So they're coming for me," she said when he finished. "Not a question, a certainty. They might try, and they'll win. Rich people always win." "Not this time." Cole took her hands. "Listen to me, Annie. I don't care how much money they have. You're staying here with me, with Elena. That's final." "You can't promise that." "Watch me." Annie looked at him with those old eyes. Why fight for me? I'm just trouble. Always have been." "You want to know why?" Cole's voice was fierce. "Because 8 years ago, I lost everything. My son, my wife, my whole world. After that, I closed myself off. Thought I'd never care about anyone again. Figured if I didn't care, I couldn't get hurt." He squeezed her hands. "But then I found you, half dead in the snow, and something happened. Something I can't explain. It was like God was saying, here's your second chance. Don't waste it." "Me too, but we'll face it together." Cole pulled her into a hug. "You're my daughter now, Annie, in every way that matters, and nobody takes what's mine. She clung to him, sobbing into his shoulder, and Cole made a silent vow. Whatever it took, whatever it cost, he would keep her safe, even if it meant going to war with the most powerful family in America. 2 days later, the trouble arrived. Cole was teaching Annie how to saddle Penny when the sound reached them. Hooves, multiple horses, coming fast. "Stay here," he told Annie. "Don't come out until I say." "But do as I say." He walked out of the barn to find 3 riders pulling up in his yard. 2 men he didn't recognize, hard-faced types with the look of hired muscle. And 1 woman in a severe black dress that probably cost more than most folks made in a year. The woman dismounted without waiting for help. She was maybe 50. Iron gray hair pulled back, tight lips pressed into a thin line. "Mr. Cole Maverick." "That's me. Who's asking?" "My name is Miss Harriet Price. I represent the Children's Welfare Society of the Wyoming Territory." She pulled papers from her saddlebag. "We've received a report about a minor child residing at this residence without proper legal guardianship." Cole's blood went cold. So it was starting. The Ashworths were making their move. "That's so. And who filed this report?" "That information is confidential. What matters is that we investigate all claims of potential child endangerment." Endangerment. The word tasted like poison. "Lady, I saved that child's life." "Mr. Maverick, I'm not here to argue. I'm here to assess the child's situation and determine appropriate placement." Miss Price's eyes swept the property. "Where is she?" Cole didn't move. Every instinct screamed at him to send this woman packing. But he knew how this worked. Refuse to cooperate, and they'd come back with force. "Fine," he said through gritted teeth, "but I'm present for any interview. And if you upset that child, we're done. That's acceptable." They filed into the kitchen. Elena appeared on the porch, her expression thunderous. Annie sat at the table, hands folded tight, trying to look brave. Miss Price asked her questions. "How did she get here? How was she treated? Did anyone hit her?" Annie answered carefully, told the truth. About the rescue, about the kindness, about finally feeling safe. "This is the first place in my whole life where nobody's hurt me," Annie said, her voice trembling. "Please don't take me away. I have no intention of sending you back to the Garretts." Miss Price closed her notebook. "But Mr. Maverick, we do have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "You're a single man with no legal claim to this child. You're not a blood relative. You haven't filed adoption papers. In the eyes of the law, you're essentially holding her without authority." "I'm protecting her." "I believe you." For the first time, Miss Price's expression softened. "This child is healthier and happier than she's been in years. That's obvious. But the law doesn't care about obvious. The law cares about paperwork. And right now, you have none." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying if someone with a legal claim comes forward, there's nothing I can do." She gathered her things. "My advice, get a lawyer, file for legal adoption, and do it fast." After she left, Cole stood at the window watching her ride away. Annie's voice came from behind him, small and broken. "They're coming, aren't they, the Ashworths?" Cole turned. Annie was standing in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Elena stood behind her, one hand on the girl's shoulder. "Yes," Cole said, "no point lying, but we're not going to let them win." "How you don't have papers? You're not family." Elena stepped forward. Her expression was determined, resolute, a little afraid. "Senor Cole, may I speak with you alone?" Annie looked between them, fear etched on her face. "Go to your room, mija," Elena said gently. "Everything will be all right." "You don't know that." "I do." Elena's voice was firm. "Now go. Let us talk." Annie went her footsteps slow on the stairs. When they were alone, Elena turned to Cole with an expression he'd never seen before. "I have been thinking about this since the welfare woman came. About what to do if someone tried to take her. And there is a way. One way to give you legal standing." Elena took a breath. "Marry me." Cole stared at her. "What? Marry me? Not for love, not for romance, for Annie." Elena's hands were clasped tight in front of her. "The welfare woman said you're a single man. But if you had a wife, if we adopted her together as a married couple, it would be different, harder to challenge." "Elena, I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm offering." She stepped closer, her dark eyes intense. "I have loved that child since the moment I saw her. I would do anything to protect her. And she stopped started again. And I care for you, Senor Cole. I have for many years. This would not be a hardship for me. Cole didn't know what to say. Elena had been part of his life for 10 years, constant, reliable, essential. He'd never thought about her as anything more. But now looking at her face, he saw something he'd missed. Devotion, patience, a quiet love that had been waiting. You'd really do this, he asked. Tie yourself to me for the sake of a child who isn't even yours. She is mine. In every way that matters, she is mine. Elena's voice cracked. I lost a daughter 30 years ago. Elena. She would have been Annie's age now if she had lived. When I look at that girl, I see everything I lost. Everything I never got to have. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Please, Senor Cole, let me be her mother. Let me help you protect her. Something shifted in Cole's chest. Something that had been frozen for 8 years began to thaw. He thought about Sarah, about how much she had loved him, about how she would want him to be happy, to find someone, to keep living even after she was gone. He thought about Benjamin, about the family he'd lost, about the empty rooms and the silent nights and the grief that never quite went away. And he thought about Annie, about her laughter and her questions, and the way she called him Papa Cole, about the promise he'd made to fight for her. All right, he said quietly, let's do it. Elena let out a breath she'd been holding. You mean it. I mean it. But Elena, he took her hands in his. I can't promise you love, not yet. I don't know if I'm capable of it anymore. I'm not asking for love. I'm asking for a chance. She squeezed his hands. Give me that and I'll be grateful. You deserve better. What I deserve is to be happy. For the first time in 30 years, I think I might be. Elena smiled through her tears. Now we should tell Annie. She's upstairs convinced she's about to be torn away from us. They found Annie curled up on her bed, clutching her locket. She sat up when they entered, her eyes red and swollen. Are they sending me away? No, mija. Quite the opposite. Elena sat beside her. Mr. Cole and I are getting married. Annie's mouth fell open. You're what? Getting married, and then we're going to adopt you. Legally, properly, so that nobody can ever take you away. But Annie looked between them, stunned. You're not in love, are you? There are many kinds of love, Elena said gently. There is passionate love, yes, but there is also the love of shared purpose, of companionship, of building something together. She brushed a strand of hair from Annie's face. That is the love Senor Cole and I share, and it is more than enough. So I'd be, Annie's voice caught. I'd really be your daughter, both of yours. If you want to be, Cole said. If I want to be, Annie threw herself at Elena, wrapping her arms around her neck. Yes, yes, I want to more than anything. Elena held her tight, tears streaming down her face. Over Annie's shoulder, she met Cole's eyes. Thank you, she mouthed. Cole nodded. He didn't trust himself to speak. Annie pulled back, wiping her face. Then she turned and hugged Cole too. Thank you, Papa. The word came out naturally this time. No hesitation, no apology. You can call me that any time you want, Cole said, his voice rough. Papa, Annie said again, smiling through her tears. And Mama Elena, I have a mama and a papa. You do, mija. Elena pulled her close again. You do. They got married 4 days later. It wasn't much of a ceremony, just the three of them, a circuit preacher who happened to be passing through, and Javier as witness. They said their vows in the main room of the ranch house with snow falling outside and a fire crackling in the hearth. Annie stood between them, holding both their hands. She wore a blue calico dress Elena had sewn with white lace at the collar. Her dark red hair was braided and pinned up. The locket gleamed at her throat. Do you, Cole Maverick, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? Cole looked at Elena. She looked different today, softer. Her dark eyes were bright with tears. I do. And do you, Elena Cruz, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? I do. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. The preacher smiled. You may kiss the bridemaid. Cole turned to Elena. He kissed her gently, briefly, a promise more than a passion. Annie cheered. Does this mean I can call you Mama now, for real? For real, mija, forever. That afternoon they rode into town, filed the marriage certificate. filed adoption papers for Annie Grace Harper to become Annie Grace Maverick. The clerk looked at the papers, then at them, then back at the papers. "These'll take 30 to 60 days to process," he said. "How do we speed that up?" Cole asked. "You don't. It's the law. 30 to 60 days, a lifetime if the Ashworths came calling." That night, Cole and Elena sat together in the kitchen, 2 cups of coffee between them, rings on their fingers, a new world spreading out before them. "What happens now?" Elena asked. "We wait. Hope the adoption goes through before the Ashworths make their move." Cole turned his coffee cup in his hands. "And we prepare for war." "You think they'll come?" "I know they will. That telegram said they're searching. It's only a matter of time." "Then we fight," Elena said simply. "Whatever comes, whoever comes, we fight together." Together. Cole reached across the table, took her hand, and for the first time in 8 years, he didn't feel alone. The storm broke a week after the wedding. Cole was in the barn grooming smoke when he heard horses approaching. More than one. Moving fast. He grabbed his rifle and stepped outside. 3 riders came over the ridge. 2 were the same hard-faced men who'd accompanied Miss Price. The third was a stranger in an expensive suit. "Mr. Maverick." The thin man's voice was cultured, Eastern. "My name is Walter Grimsby. I'm an attorney representing the Ashworth family of Boston." Cole's grip tightened on the rifle. "What do you want?" "I believe you have something that belongs to my clients." Grimsby's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Or rather, someone." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't play games with me, Mr. Maverick. We know about the girl. We know about the locket. We know everything." Grimsby dismounted. "The Ashworth family has been searching for their lost granddaughter for 9 years. Imagine their joy when they learned she'd finally been found." Granddaughter. The word tasted sour. Funny, nobody seemed too concerned about finding her when she was being beaten and starved and sold like property. An unfortunate situation. One that the family deeply regrets, but that's all in the past now. They want to bring Eleanor home. Give her the life she deserves. She has a life, here, with me and my wife. Grimsby's eyebrows rose. "Your wife, my understanding was that you were unmarried." "Things change. I got married last week. We filed for legal adoption of Annie." Something flickered in Grimsby's eyes. Calculation. "That is unexpected, but ultimately irrelevant. The Ashworths are blood relatives. Their claim supersedes any adoption. Not if the adoption is finalized first." "Oh, we'll challenge it. Make no mistake." Grimsby's smile sharpened. "We have documents proving Eleanor's identity, birth records, testimony from the doctor who delivered her, a sworn statement from the farmer who was paid to take her." He paused. "With Mr. The pool was quite helpful once we found him. Money has a way of loosening tongues. So the Ashworths paid to have Annie hidden, then they paid to find her again. What changed? The old man died, the original patriarch. He was the one who insisted the child be hidden." Grimsby shrugged. "His sons feel differently. They want to right an old wrong. And if Annie doesn't want to go, she's a child. She doesn't get to choose." "Like hell she doesn't." Grimsby sighed. "Mr. Maverick, you seem like a reasonable man. The Ashworths are willing to compensate you for your trouble. $100,000. Cole felt the number land like a punch. $100,000. Enough to expand his ranch. Enough to retire in comfort. Enough to solve every financial problem he'd ever have. "Take the money," Grimsby said. "Let the girl go. Everyone walks away happy." Cole thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. "No. I'm sorry. I said no." Cole raised the rifle slightly. "Annie stays here. She's my daughter now. You want her, you'll have to go through the courts and through me." Grimsby studied him for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "Very well, if that's how you want to play it. But I should warn you, Mr. Maverick, the Ashworths don't lose. They have more money and more lawyers than you could imagine. They'll bury you in legal fees, drag this out for years, and in the end, they'll still get what they want. Maybe, but they'll bleed for it. So will you, and so will the girl." Grimsby mounted his horse. "Think about it. Think about what's really best for her." Get off my land. Grimsby tipped his hat. We'll be in touch, Mr. Maverick. Very soon. As they rode away, a figure emerged from behind the barn. One of Grimsby's men, the younger one, the one who'd been hanging back. He approached Cole quickly, glancing over his shoulder to make sure the others were out of earshot. Mr. Maverick, he said urgently, I need you to know something. Cole kept the rifle trained on him. Who are you? My name is Marcus Ashworth. Victoria was my sister. Cole's blood went cold. I don't have much time, Marcus said quickly. His eyes were desperate, sincere. My brother Randolph, he doesn't want Annie for family reasons. He wants her dead. What? The inheritance. 15 million. It can only be claimed if Annie is raised by family. But once Randolph has custody, Marcus's voice broke. Accidents happen, Mr. Maverick, especially to young girls before they turn 21. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Cole understood perfectly. The Ashworths didn't want Annie. They wanted her inheritance. And the easiest way to control it was to make sure she never lived long enough to claim it. Why are you telling me this? Because I love my sister. Because I couldn't save Victoria, but maybe I can save her daughter. Marcus glanced back. Grimsby and the other man were waiting on the ridge. Please, don't let Randolph win. Fight for her, whatever it takes. I will. Marcus, Grimsby's voice carried across the distance. Let's go. Marcus looked at Cole one more time. I'm sorry for everything our family did. Victoria deserved better. Annie deserves better. Then he was gone, riding to join the others. Cole stood in his yard rifle in hand, mind racing. The Ashworths weren't just trying to take Annie, they were planning to kill her. Over his dead body, he found Elena in the kitchen. Annie was upstairs practicing her letters. We need to talk, Cole said, and we need a lawyer, the best one we can find. What happened? Cole told her. Everything about Grimsby's offer, about Marcus's warning, about the murder plot. Elena's face went white. They would kill her, a child. For $15 million, men have killed for a lot less. Cole's hands curled into fists. But they're not getting anywhere near her. I'll see them in hell first. What do we do? I know a lawyer in Cheyenne, Bartholomew Preston. He's handled cases against rich folks before. Cole grabbed his coat. I'm riding out tonight. This can't wait. And Annie, keep her close. Don't let her out of your sight. Javier and the boys will watch the property. Cole checked his pistol. If anyone comes, anyone you don't know, you shoot first and ask questions later. Elena nodded. Her jaw was set. I will protect her, mi amor. Mi amor. My love. It was the first time she'd called him that. Cole crossed to her, kissed her forehead. I know you will. He left that night riding hard for Cheyenne. Behind him, Elena locked every door and window, loaded the shotgun, and sat by the fire with Annie keeping watch. The Ashworths thought they could take their daughter. They were about to learn that the Maverick family didn't surrender without a fight. Bartholomew Preston was not what Cole expected. The lawyer was a small man, barely 5'5", with spectacles that made his eyes look twice their size and a suit that had seen better days. His office in Cheyenne was cramped, cluttered with waiters and law books stacked floor to ceiling. He didn't look like someone who could take on the wealthiest family in America. But when he spoke, everything changed. The Ashworths. Preston leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. His voice went cold and sharp. I've been waiting 20 years for a chance to go after those bastards. You know them. I know what they did to my sister. Preston stood and walked to the window, his back to Cole. Margaret, she was 18 when she went to work for them as a maid. Beautiful girl, smart, had dreams of opening a dress shop someday. He turned and Cole saw the rage burning in those magnified eyes. Jeremiah Ashworth's eldest son, Charles, he got her pregnant. When she told him, you know what he did, Preston's voice shook. He told his father. The old man called her a liar and a whore, threw her out on the street with $20 and a threat. If she ever spoke a word about it, they'd make sure she never worked again. They'd destroy what was left of her reputation. They'd see her in the gutter where she belonged. Jesus, Cole breathed. Margaret was too ashamed to come home. Too proud. She tried to make it on her own in Denver. Preston's hands curled into fists. Found her body in an alley 6 months later. Froze to death. The baby with her. The silence that followed was heavy as stone. The Ashworths killed my sister as sure as if they'd put a gun to her head, Preston said quietly. And they got away with it because they're rich, because they were powerful, because the law protects people like them and grinds people like us into dust. He crossed to his desk, placed both hands flat on the surface, looked Cole straight in the eye. So yes, Mr. Maverick, I know the Ashworths, and I will fight them until I have nothing left, until they're broke or dead or both, because somebody needs to make them pay. Cole met his gaze. Then we want the same thing. Tell me everything, from the beginning. Don't leave anything out. Cole told him about finding Annie in the snow, about the Garretts and the beatings in the locket, about Victoria Ashworth and the $15 million, about Marcus's warning and the murder plot. Preston listened without interrupting, occasionally scratching notes on a pad of paper. When Cole finished, the lawyer was quiet for a long moment. "This is good," he said finally. "Better than good. The Ashworths have skeletons, Mr. Maverick, lots of them. And you've just handed me the key to the closet." "What do you mean? Victoria Ashworth didn't just disappear. She died in childbirth in a charity hospital in Denver under a false name." Preston pulled a file from his desk drawer. "I've suspected it for years, but could never prove it. After Margaret died, I started digging, looking for anything I could use against them. Found a death certificate for a Mary Jones, 20 years old, died of complications from childbirth. Same date Victoria supposedly went back east." He spread papers across his desk. Birth certificate, death certificate, hospital records. If your Annie is Victoria's daughter, then we have documentation. A paper trail that leads right back to the family that abandoned her. That proves they knew about her. That proves they deliberately disposed of her. How does that help us? It proves intent. Preston's eyes glittered behind his spectacles. The Ashworths didn't lose track of this child. They paid to have her hidden. Made sure she'd never be found. That's not the action of a loving family that wants their granddaughter back. That's the action of people who wanted her to disappear permanently. So why do they want her now? That's the question, isn't it? Preston sat down, drumming his fingers on the desk. The old man is dead. The sons are running things now. Something must have changed. Some reason why they suddenly need this girl. The inheritance. The 15 million. Exactly, but there's more to it than that. Preston pulled out another document. "I've been doing some research since I got your telegram. The Ashworth estate is complicated. Old Jeremiah was a bastard, but he was a sentimental bastard. He loved Victoria more than his sons. When she died, he changed his will." Preston slid the document across the desk. "Everything, the mines, the railroads, the banks, the real estate, it's all in trust for Victoria's child. But here's the catch. The inheritance can only be claimed if the child is raised by a family member until age 21. If not, the entire estate goes to charity." Cole felt the blood drain from his face. So the sons get nothing unless they can prove Annie is Victoria's daughter and establish themselves as her guardians, and keep her alive until her 21st birthday to maintain the trust. Preston's expression was grim. "Except I'd bet my practice they have no intention of keeping her alive that long. A lot can happen in 12 years. Accidents, illnesses, a young girl dying tragically before she comes of age. With no heir, the trust reverts to the family. They'd get everything. They're going to kill her. They're going to try." Preston leaned forward. "That's why we need to move fast. We need to get that adoption finalized. We need to prove that you and your wife are the better guardians. And we need to expose the Ashworths for what they are. Murderers and thieves hiding behind money and respectability. What do we need to do? First, I'm subpoenaing the Ashworth family records. All of them. Birth certificates, death certificates, financial documents. Everything that proves they knew about Annie and chose to abandon her. Second, I'm going to track down everyone who was involved. The doctor who delivered Annie, the farmer who took her, the Garretts who abused her. We're going to build an airtight case." Preston stood and offered his hand. "This won't be easy, Mr. Maverick. The Ashworths are going to throw everything they have at us. Money, influence, witnesses who will say whatever they're paid to say. But I promise you I'll fight like hell for your daughter and for my sister." Cole shook his hand. "How long do we have?" 30 days, maybe less. They'll file for custody as soon as they have their evidence together." Preston's jaw tightened. We need to be ready. The next 3 weeks were a blur of preparation. Preston worked 18-hour days gathering evidence, taking depositions, building their case. Cole stayed close to the ranch, teaching Annie, watching the horizon, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Annie knew something was wrong. She could see it in the way Cole checked the windows, the way Elena kept the shotgun close, the way the ranch hands rode patrol every night. "They're coming, aren't they?" she asked one evening. "The Ashworths." Cole and Elena exchanged glances. No point lying to her. "Yes," Cole said, "but we're ready." "What if they win? What if the judge says I have to go with them?" "Then we run." Cole's voice was fierce. "Mexico, Canada, somewhere they can't find us. You think I'm going to let them take you?" Annie threw her arms around his waist. "I'm scared, Papa." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." But even as he held her, Cole was calculating, counting his assets, figuring out how far he could run, how long he could hide. He had 50,000 acres, but he'd burn every inch of it before he let the Ashworths take his daughter. The summons arrived on a cold Monday morning, hand-delivered by a U.S. Marshal, official court seal. The Ashworth family was filing for custody of Annie Grace Harper on the grounds of blood relation and best interest of the child. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks from that day. 2 weeks, Cole said, staring at the paper. "They're moving fast." "They want to catch us unprepared," Preston said. He'd ridden out as soon as he heard. "But we're not unprepared. We're ready for this." "Are we?" "We are." Preston's eyes were sharp behind his spectacles. "Mr. Maverick, I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" "I can try." "Good, because I'm going to ask you to do something that's going to be very hard." "What?" "When we go to court, when the Ashworths parade their witnesses and their evidence and their money in front of that judge, I need you to stay calm, no matter what they say, no matter how much it hurts. Can you do that?" Cole thought about it, about sitting there while lawyers called his character into question, while they painted him as an opportunist, a kidnapper, someone using a child for his own gain. "I'll do whatever it takes to keep Annie safe. That's all I need to hear." The night before the hearing, Cole couldn't sleep. He sat in his study, staring at the fire, running through every possible outcome in his head. Most of them ended badly. Elena found him there near midnight. "You should rest," she said quietly. "Can't. Too much at stake." She sat beside him, taking his hand. "Whatever happens tomorrow, you've done everything you could, more than anyone could ask. It's not enough. It might never be enough." Cole. It was only the second time she'd used his name without the title. "Listen to me, whatever that judge decides, Annie knows she's loved. She knows what it feels like to have a family. That's something the Ashworths can never take away. They can take her. That's enough. Then we'll get her back. Somehow. Some way." Elena's voice was fierce. "I didn't survive losing my daughter and my husband to give up now. I didn't wait 30 years for a second chance at happiness just to let it slip away." Cole looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd stood by him through everything, who'd offered herself to save a child she barely knew, who'd loved him quietly, patiently for years. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what?" "For not seeing you. All these years you were right here and I was too wrapped up in my own grief to notice. You see me now, that's what matters." She leaned forward and kissed him. Not gently this time. Not a promise or an obligation. A real kiss, full of want and need and something that had been building for a decade. When they pulled apart, Elena's eyes were bright with tears. "Well," she said softly, "that took you long enough. I'm a slow learner." "Yes, but you're worth waiting for." She stood, pulling him to his feet. "Now come to bed. We need to be strong tomorrow, for Annie." Cole let her lead him upstairs. And for the first time since Sarah died, he didn't sleep alone. The courthouse in Cheyenne was packed. Word had spread about the case. Rich, Eastern family trying to claim an orphan from a frontier rancher. People had come from miles around to see how it played out. Cole sat at the defense table with Elena and Annie. Preston was beside them, organizing papers with calm efficiency. Across the aisle, the Ashworth contingent filled an entire row. Two well-dressed men in their 40s. Randolph Ashworth, the older one, had cold eyes and a cruel mouth. Marcus Ashworth looked uncomfortable, guilty even. Grimsby, the lawyer, headed an army of assistants and clerks. Randolph caught Cole's eye and smiled. Cold, superior. The smile of a man who'd never lost at anything in his life. Cole smiled back, just as cold. Judge Morrison entered and everyone rose. He was an older man, white-haired and stern-faced, with the look of someone who'd seen everything and wasn't impressed by any of it. Be seated. Morrison shuffled papers. We're here today in the matter of Ashworth versus Maverick regarding the custody of the minor child, Annie Grace Harper, also known as Eleanor Victoria Ashworth. Mr. Grimsby, you may begin. Grimsby stood, buttoning his expensive jacket. Your Honor, this is a straightforward case. My clients, Randolph and Marcus Ashworth, are the rightful uncles of Eleanor Victoria Ashworth, the only living child of their late sister Victoria. For 9 years, this child has been lost hidden away by unscrupulous individuals who were paid to keep her existence a secret. He gestured to documents on his table. We have birth records proving Eleanor was born to Victoria Ashworth on March 15, 1878 in Denver. We have testimony from the attending physician. We have a sworn statement from Hiram Poole, the farmer who was paid to take custody of the infant and conceal her identity. Grimsby's voice rose with righteous indignation. The Ashworth family only learned of Eleanor's existence 6 months ago when Mr. Poole's conscience finally compelled him to come forward. Since then, they have been searching desperately for their lost niece. They wish to give her a proper home, a proper education, and access to the inheritance that is rightfully hers. He turned to point at Cole and Elena. The current guardians, Mr. and Mrs. Maverick, have no legal claim to this child. They found her abandoned and chose to keep her without notifying proper authorities. They married hastily and filed adoption papers only after learning of the family's search. While their intentions may have been good, the law is clear. Blood relatives have prior claim, especially when those relatives can provide opportunities and advantages far beyond what a frontier rancher can offer. Morrison turned. Mr. Preston. Preston stood slowly, deliberately. He was half Grimsby's size in a suit worth a tenth as much. But when he spoke, his voice filled the courtroom. Your Honor, I'd like to start by correcting some misrepresentations. My clients did notify authorities. A representative of the Children's Welfare Society visited their home and found Annie to be well cared for and thriving. I have Miss Price's report here filed before the Ashworths ever came forward. He handed the document to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. Furthermore, Your Honor, I intend to prove that the Ashworth family didn't lose this child. They abandoned her, deliberately, cruelly. They paid to have her hidden because she was an embarrassment, an inconvenience, a threat to their precious reputation. Preston's voice dropped, became deadly serious. And now they seek to reclaim her, not out of love or family feeling, but out of simple greed. Because Eleanor Victoria Ashworth isn't just a lost niece. She's worth $15 million. And the Ashworths will do anything, and I mean anything, to get their hands on that money. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Morrison banged his gavel. That's a serious accusation, Mr. Preston. I hope you have evidence to support it. I do, Your Honor. Substantial evidence. And I have witnesses who will testify to the Ashworth family's pattern of cruelty, deception, and disregard for human life. Preston's eyes swept the gallery. By the time this hearing is over, the court will understand exactly what kind of people we're dealing with. The morning session was brutal. Grimsby called witness after witness, all testifying to the Ashworths' good character and desperate search for their lost niece. Dr. Charles Henderson, the family physician, spoke of Randolph and Marcus's sterling reputation. Fine men, pillars of the community. It broke their hearts when they learned what happened to Victoria's child. Preston rose for cross-examination. He circled the witness stand slowly like a shark. Dr. Henderson, you testified that you knew Victoria Ashworth personally, that she was beloved by her family. That's correct. Then perhaps you can explain why when she became pregnant, her family sent her away to have her baby alone in a charity hospital under a false name. Henderson's face reddened. I don't know anything about that. You don't? Preston pulled a paper from his jacket. That's strange because I have a death certificate here for one Mary Jones. Died of complications from childbirth on March 17, 1878 at Denver Charity Hospital. Your signature is right here at the bottom. Gasps from the gallery. Answer the question, doctor. Morrison said, leaning forward. I was asked to maintain confidentiality for the family's sake. For the family's sake, not for Victoria's sake, not for her baby's sake. Preston's voice dripped contempt. Because the family's reputation was more important than a young woman's life, more important than an innocent child. You helped them cover up Victoria's death. You signed a false certificate. You participated in hiding a baby. Objection, Grimsby said, standing. Counsel is badgering the witness. Sustained. Move on, Mr. Preston. Of course, Your Honor. Preston turned back to Henderson. One more question, Doctor. Who paid you to sign that false death certificate? I don't recall. You don't recall receiving $5,000 from Jeremiah Ashworth because I have the bank draft right here. Henderson's face went white. No further questions. The next witness was worse. Hiram Poole, the farmer who'd taken Annie as a baby, shuffled to the stand looking 50 years older than he was. Grimsby led him through his testimony gently. Mr. Poole, can you tell the court how you came to have custody of Eleanor Ashworth? A man came to my farm, said he had a baby that needed hiding, gave me a bag of gold coins and a note, said to keep the child, never tell anyone where she came from, and there'd be more money every year. And did you receive more money? For 5 years, then it stopped. That's when I sold her to the Garretts. Couldn't afford to keep feeding her with no money coming. So you were simply following instructions, acting as a caretaker. Yes, sir, that's right. Preston's cross-examination was savage. Mr. Poole, you said a man brought you the baby and a bag of gold. How much gold? 50 coins, double eagles, maybe $1,000. So you took $1,000 to hide a baby, to keep her existence secret, to never let her know who her real family was. I was just doing what I was paid for. And when the money stopped coming, you sold a 6-year-old child for $20 to a family that beat her, starved her, worked her like a slave. Preston's voice was ice. Tell me, Mr. Poole, did you ever once think about that child's welfare? Did you ever once wonder if what you were doing was right? Poole said nothing. Let the record show the witness has no answer. Preston turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence the bank records showing regular payments from the Ashworth family to Hiram Poole from 1878 to 1883. 5 years of paying this man to keep Annie hidden, to keep her silent, to erase her existence. He slapped the papers on the clerk's desk. The Ashworths didn't lose this child. They paid to have her disposed of. And now they want her back because she's worth $15 million. By lunch, Preston had systematically destroyed Grimsby's witnesses, exposed the lies, revealed the payoffs, shown the conspiracy. But Grimsby wasn't done. That afternoon, he called character witnesses for Randolph and Marcus, business partners, fellow church members, society matrons, all testifying to their charitable works, their good hearts, their desperate desire to right a family wrong. It was effective, too effective. Cole watched the judge taking notes and felt his hope slipping away. Then Preston called his witnesses. First was Miss Harriet Price. She testified about visiting the Maverick Ranch, about finding Annie healthy, happy, educated. In 20 years of doing this work, she said, I've seen many situations. The child was thriving, more than thriving. She was loved. Grimsby tried to shake her on cross-examination. Failed. Next was Dr. Samuel Crawford, the physician who'd examined Annie after her rescue. Severe malnutrition, he testified. Multiple old fractures that had healed poorly. Scars consistent with repeated beatings over a period of years. Frostbite, hypothermia. That child was within hours of death when Mr. Maverick found her. And who was responsible for that condition? Preston asked. Based on her testimony and the pattern of injuries, I'd say years of systematic abuse. The Garrett family primarily, but also anyone who knew about her situation and did nothing. Preston let that hang in the air. Anyone who paid to have her hidden, anyone who could have found her but chose not to. They bear responsibility too, don't they? In my opinion, yes. On the second day, Preston called Elena to the stand. She told her story simply, how Annie had come to them, how she'd flourished, how they'd come to love her. Mrs. Maverick, Preston said gently, you lost a daughter yourself, didn't you? Yes, 30 years ago, Lena. She would have been Annie's age. And when you saw Annie, what did you feel? Elena's eyes filled with tears. I felt like God was giving me a second chance. A chance to be the mother I never got to be. To love a child who needed love as much as I needed to give it. And you married Mr. Maverick to protect Annie. I married him because he's a good man who deserves happiness. Because Annie deserves a family. Because love isn't always romance. Sometimes it's choosing to build something together. To protect something precious. Elena looked at Cole. And yes, I would do it again. Every time. Grimsby's cross-examination was brutal. He implied Elena had seduced Cole, that she'd manipulated him for financial gain, that the marriage was a fraud. Elena took it all without flinching. You can say what you want about me, she said quietly, but don't you dare say anything bad about that child. She's been through hell, and we pulled her out of it. That's what matters. Then it was Cole's turn. He took the stand with his heart hammering, told the story of finding Annie in the snow, of the rescue, of watching her come back to life. Why did you keep her? Preston asked. You could have turned her over to authorities. Why didn't you? Cole was quiet for a moment. I had a son once, Benjamin. He died 8 years ago. Scarlet fever. My wife Sarah died 2 days later. After that, I thought I was done. Thought I'd never feel anything again. He looked at Annie sitting at the defense table with tears streaming down her face. But then I found this little girl dying in the snow, and something happened. Something I can't explain. It was like God was saying, here's your second chance. Don't waste it. Cole's voice cracked. So I didn't. I took her home, and she became my daughter. Not because of blood, not because of law, because of love, because she needed me and I needed her. And the Ashworths offer, the $100,000, I don't care if they offered me 10 million. She's not for sale. She's my daughter. Grimsby's cross-examination was vicious. He painted Cole as an opportunist who'd stumbled onto a fortune, who'd married his housekeeper to create a false family, who was keeping Annie prisoner for her inheritance. Isn't it true, Mr. Maverick, that you stand to gain control of $15 million if Annie remains with you? No. No, the inheritance. The inheritance is Annie's, not mine. If we win custody, she controls it when she turns 21. Not before. Not me. Not Elena, her. Cole's jaw tightened. We don't want her money, we want her. So you say. But how can we trust? Because I already have money, Cole's voice rose. I've got 50,000 acres and 10,000 head of cattle. I've got $2 million in the bank. I don't need Annie's inheritance. I need Annie. The courtroom went silent. I need to hear her laugh. I need to teach her about horses and ranching and how to be strong. I need to watch her grow up and get married and have children of her own someday. Cole's voice broke. I need to be her father because she's already my daughter, and no amount of money will ever change that. Grimsby had no response. Morrison called a recess. The gallery buzzed with conversation. Cole stepped down from the stand, shaking, and found Elena waiting. You did well, she said. Did I? You told the truth. That's all we can do. They spent the recess in a small room down the hall. Annie sat between them, holding both their hands. Are we going to win? She asked. I don't know, sweetheart, Cole said honestly, but whatever happens, we're together. Remember that. I'm scared, Papa. Me too. The afternoon session started with a surprise. Preston stood and addressed the court. Your Honor, I have one more witness, someone the Ashworth family did not expect. Grimsby was on his feet immediately. Objection. We weren't given notice of any additional witnesses. The witness only came forward last night, Your Honor. He has information crucial to this case. Morrison considered. I'll allow it, but this better be good, Mr. Preston. It is, Your Honor. The defense calls Marcus Ashworth to the stand. The courtroom erupted. Randolph's face went purple. Grimsby looked like he'd been punched. Marcus stood slowly, walked to the stand. He wouldn't look at his brother. Mr. Ashworth, Preston said after Marcus was sworn in, you are one of the petitioners in this case. You are asking for custody of Annie. Is that correct? That was my brother's idea, not mine. But you signed the petition. I did, and I regret it. Marcus's voice was steady. strong. I regret a lot of things. Tell the court about your sister Victoria. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. Victoria was the youngest, the favorite. She was beautiful and kind and full of life. When she was 18, she fell in love with a cowboy named James Harper. Good man, honorable, but he wasn't rich, wasn't from an old family. So my father forbade it. What happened? Victoria got pregnant. My father was furious. He called her horrible names, locked her in her room. Then he sent her away. Told everyone she was going to a finishing school back east. But really, he sent her to Denver to have the baby in secret and give it up. And then she died. Marcus's voice broke. Complications from childbirth. Alone in a charity hospital with no family. No one who loved her. She was 20 years old. Did you know about this at the time? No, my father told us she died of fever at the finishing school. We believed him. It wasn't until after he died 5 years ago that we found out the truth, found the real death certificate, found the records of payments to Hiram Poole. And the baby, so father had hidden her, paid Poole to keep her secret, to make sure no one ever knew Victoria had a child. Marcus wiped his eyes. When we found out, Randolph wanted to find the child, but not for the reasons you think. Preston leaned forward. Why did Randolph want to find Annie? Marcus was silent for a long moment. Randolph was staring at him with murder in his eyes. Because of the inheritance, Marcus said finally. Father changed his will after Victoria died, left everything in trust for her child. If the child is found and raised by family until age 21, she inherits. If not, it all goes to charity. Randolph and I get nothing either way. But if Randolph gained custody of Annie, then he could control the trust. And a lot can happen in 12 years. Marcus looked at Annie, really looked at her. I'm ashamed to say this, but my brother made his intentions clear. Annie doesn't need to reach 21. An accident, an illness, some tragic event. Then the trust would revert to the family estate. To us. The courtroom exploded. Morrison hammered his gavel. Randolph was on his feet screaming at his brother. Grimsby was trying to object, trying to stop the testimony. But Marcus kept talking. I love my sister. I couldn't save her, but I can save her daughter. He turned to Morrison. Your Honor, I beg you, don't give Annie to us. She'll die if you do. Randolph will kill her for that money. I know it, and I won't be part of it anymore. That's enough, Grimsby shouted. Your Honor, this witness is clearly unstable. Sit down, Mr. Grimsby. Morrison's voice was thunder. Mr. Ashworth, are you saying your brother intends to murder this child? Yes, Your Honor, I'm saying exactly that. Do you have proof? I have this. Marcus pulled an envelope from his jacket. Letters from Randolph. Planning how to gain custody, how to make it look like an accident, how to inherit the estate. I've been keeping them for months, hoping I'd find the courage to do the right thing. He handed the envelope to the bailiff. The proof is all there. Everything you need to know about what kind of man my brother really is. Morrison took the letters, read them in silence. His face grew darker with each page. Bailiff, he said finally, please escort Randolph Ashworth into custody. I'm issuing a warrant for attempted conspiracy to commit murder. Chaos erupted. Randolph was screaming, fighting the bailiff. Grimsby was gathering his papers, trying to distance himself from his client. The gallery was in uproar. Through it all, Marcus sat in the witness box, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, Victoria, he whispered. I'm so sorry I didn't save you, but I saved her. I finally saved her. It took Morrison 20 minutes to restore order. When he did, Randolph was gone, hauled away in irons. Grimsby had withdrawn from the case. The remaining Ashworth lawyers were huddled together, clearly unsure what to do. Is there anything else, Mr. Preston? Morrison asked. Just one more witness, Your Honor, the most important one. Preston turned. The defense calls Annie Grace Maverick. Annie walked to the stand on shaking legs. She looked tiny in the witness chair. A 9-year-old girl who'd survived hell and was still fighting. Annie, Preston said gently, tell the court about your life before Mr. Maverick found you. And Annie told them everything. The farmer who sold her, the Garretts who beat her, 3 years of hell, the blizzard, the near death. She told it all in a clear, steady voice. No tears, just truth. Then what happened? Preston asked. Then Papa Cole found me. Annie's voice strengthened. He could have left me there. Nobody would have known. But he didn't. He stopped. He saved me. He took me home and made me part of his family. And how do the Mavericks treat you? Like I matter. The words came out fierce, defiant. Like I'm a person, not a burden. Papa Cole teaches me about horses and ranching and how to be strong. Mama Elena teaches me to cook and sew and read. They give me food, clothes, a room of my own. Nobody hits me, ever. Nobody calls me names. Nobody makes me feel like I'm worthless. Preston nodded. What about the Ashworths, your biological family? Annie looked directly at the empty chair where Randolph had been sitting. Then at Marcus, still in the witness box, still crying. Mr. Marcus seems nice, seems sorry for what happened, but the rest of them... Annie's voice rose. They're not my family. Family doesn't throw you away. Family doesn't pay people to hide you. Family doesn't show up 9 years later just because you're worth something now. She stood up in the witness box, small and fierce and absolutely unbreakable. I didn't matter to them when I was starving. I didn't matter when I was being beaten. I only matter now because I have money they want. Her voice cracked but didn't break. The Mavericks found me when I was nothing, when I was dying in the snow. And they made me somebody. They made me their daughter. And no amount of money will ever be worth more than that. The courtroom was silent. Even Morrison looked moved. They're my family, Annie said, looking at Cole and Elena. The only real family I've ever had. And if you take me away from them, you might as well throw me back in that snowbank. Because I'll die without them. Maybe not right away, but I'll die inside. The part of me that finally learned how to be happy, how to be loved, that part will die. She sat back down, wiped her eyes. That's all I got to say. Preston returned to his table. No further questions, Your Honor. Grimsby's replacement, a nervous young lawyer, stood for cross-examination, took one look at Annie's face, sat back down. No questions. Morrison called for closing arguments. The young lawyer did his best, talked about blood relations and family duty and the advantages the Ashworths could provide. But his heart wasn't in it, not after Marcus's testimony, not after Annie's words. Then Preston stood for his closing. Your Honor, this case is simple. It's about two kinds of family, the family you're born into and the family you choose. He walked to Annie, placed a hand on her shoulder. Annie Grace Maverick was born into the Ashworth family, a family that called her mother a whore, that let her die alone, that paid to have her baby hidden like a shameful secret, that left her to be beaten and starved and nearly killed, that plotted to murder her for money. Preston turned to Cole and Elena, but she was chosen by the Maverick family, a man who pulled her from the snow and brought her back to life, a woman who married that man to give Annie legal protection, people who taught her that she matters, that she's loved, that she deserves to be happy. His voice rose with passion. The Ashworths have money. They have power. They have lawyers and connections and everything that money can buy. But you know what? They don't have love. They don't have 1 ounce of real love for this child. They never did. They never will. Preston pointed at the empty chair where Randolph had sat. One of them wanted her dead. The other one? He nodded at Marcus. The other one finally did the right thing. But 30 years too late. Not for Annie, not for Victoria, for himself, to ease his guilt. He turned back to Morrison. The Mavericks aren't rich. They're not powerful. They don't have fancy lawyers or connections. But they have something the Ashworths will never have. They have love. Pure, simple, unconditional love for a child who desperately needs it. Preston's voice dropped, became quiet, deadly serious. Your Honor, you have a choice to make. You can send Annie to a family that has everything but love. Or you can let her stay with a family that has love and nothing else matters. You can follow the letter of the law, or you can follow justice. He paused, let the silence stretch. I'm asking you to choose justice. I'm asking you to look at that little girl and ask yourself what she needs. Not what the law says, not what money demands. What that child who has survived hell and come out the other side actually needs. She needs a father who will protect her. She needs a mother who will love her. She needs a home where she's safe and valued and given the chance to grow into the person she was meant to be. Preston's eyes were bright with tears now. She needs the Mavericks your honor, and they need her. That's what family is, not blood, not law, not money. Family is choosing to love someone and fight for them and never ever give up. He walked back to his table, sat down. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of people crying. Morrison took a recess to consider. 30 minutes that felt like 30 years. Cole sat with Elena and Annie holding their hands, not talking, just being together. Whatever happened, they were a family now. Nothing could change that. When Morrison returned, his face was carved from stone. "I've been on this bench for 25 years, he began. I've seen a lot of custody cases. Rich versus poor, blood versus love, black and white, and everything in between. But I've never seen anything quite like this." He looked at the empty chairs where the Ashworth lawyers had been. "The Ashworth family disgusts me. What they did to Victoria Ashworth is unforgivable. What they plan to do to Annie is monstrous. They hid this child, let her suffer, and then came here with their money and their lawyers and their lies thinking they could buy justice like they buy everything else." Morrison's voice was shaking with rage. "Well, they can't, not in my courtroom. Justice isn't for sale." He turned to Cole and Elena, his expression softened. "The Mavericks, in contrast, have demonstrated genuine love. They married to protect Annie legally. They fought for her against overwhelming odds. They've given her stability, education, a home. Most importantly, they've given her what she never had before. A family that wants her, not for money, not for advantage, but because they love her." Morrison picked up his gavel. "It is the ruling of this court that custody of Annie Grace Harper, also known as Eleanor Victoria Ashworth, is hereby permanently granted to Cole and Elena Maverick. The adoption is finalized as of this moment. She is legally and rightfully Annie Grace Maverick, daughter of Cole Maverick and Elena Maverick." The gavel came down. "Furthermore," Morrison continued over the rising cheers, "Randolph Ashworth is hereby ordered to have no contact with the child, ever. If he attempts to contact her, harass her, or threaten her in any way, he will face additional charges. Marcus Ashworth is commended for his testimony and granted immunity from prosecution in exchange for his cooperation." Another bang of the gavel. "The Ashworth estate will be administered by an independent trustee until Annie reaches the age of 21. At that time, she and she alone will decide what to do with it. No one else. Not the Ashworths, not the Mavericks. Her choice, her money, her life." One final bang. "This court is adjourned." For a moment, Cole couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't believe what he'd just heard. Then Annie screamed in joy and threw herself at him. Elena was sobbing, holding them both. The gallery erupted in cheers. They'd won, against all odds, against money and power and everything the Ashworths could throw at them. They'd won. Marcus approached quietly. His eyes were red from crying. "Thank you," Cole said, "for telling the truth. It's what Victoria would have wanted." Marcus looked at Annie. "She's beautiful. Looks just like her mother. You want to stay in touch? Get to know her." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I'd like that, if it's okay with Annie." Annie looked up at Cole. He nodded. "You can visit," Annie said carefully, "but just you, nobody else from that family." "Just me, I promise." Marcus pulled an envelope from his pocket. "This was Victoria's. She left it in her room before she went to Denver. My father hid it, but I found it after he died. I think she'd want you to have it." He handed it to Annie and walked away. Annie opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a letter in neat, flowing script. "To my daughter, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I don't know if they'll even let you live, but I need to write it anyway. Need you to know that you were wanted, that you were loved, that your father and I chose each other, and we chose you even though the world said we shouldn't. They're taking you from me tomorrow. Father says it's for the best, that you'll be given to a good family who will raise you properly. But I don't trust him. I don't trust any of them, so I'm giving you something. A locket with my picture, a bag of gold coins to pay for your care, and this letter that you may never see. I'm writing it anyway because I need you to know something. You are not a mistake. You are not a shame. You are a gift, a miracle, the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't think I'm going to survive this birth. I can feel it. Something's wrong. But if I don't make it, and if by some miracle you do, I want you to know something. Find people who love you, not people who want to use you, not people who see you as a burden or an advantage. People who love you for who you are, for the person you'll become. And when you find them, hold on tight. Because real family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about choosing to love someone and fight for them and never let go. I chose you. I choose you still. I will always choose you. Be strong. Be brave. Be happy. I love you forever, your mother, Victoria. Annie read the letter 3 times. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her locket opposite her mother's picture. She would have liked you, Annie said to Cole. You and Mama Elena, she would have been happy I found you. Cole pulled her close. We found each other, sweetheart. That's what matters. They walked out of the courthouse together. A family, legal, rightful, unbreakable. Behind them, Marcus Ashworth watched them go. Then he walked to the telegraph office and sent a message to Boston. Case lost. Annie stays with the Mavericks, as it should be. Don't contact me again. I'm done with this family. Marcus, in Boston, Randolph Ashworth sat in a jail cell charged with conspiracy to commit murder. He would spend the next 15 years there. Would die in prison of a heart attack at age 62. Alone. Unmourned. But that was later. Now Cole and Elena and Annie rode home to their ranch. To their life. To their future. The storm had passed. The battle was won. The family was safe. And that was all that mattered. The dinner table was chaos. Beautiful, glorious chaos. Annie, 14 now, and all long limbs and fierce determination, was trying to explain to 4-year-old Benjamin why he couldn't ride the bulls yet. But Papa says I'm big enough. Benjamin's voice was pure indignation. Papa's lying to make you feel better, Annie said, ruffling his dark hair. You're not riding anything bigger than Daisy until you're at least 6. That's forever. That's 2 years, dummy. Annie, Elena said from the kitchen, don't call your brother dummy. Sorry, Mama. Annie grinned. She wasn't sorry at all. 2-year-old Sarah banged her spoon on her high chair, demanding attention. Cole scooped her up, letting her grab at his beard. She looked just like her mother. Dark eyes, dark hair, already showing signs of Elena's fierce spirit. Baby Diego, 6 months old, slept peacefully in his cradle by the fire. The house smelled of Elena's cooking. Roasted chicken, fresh bread, apple pie cooling on the windowsill. This was everything Cole had lost 8 years ago. Everything he'd thought he'd never have again. And it was better than anything he could have imagined. Papa, Annie said during dinner, can I ask you something always? The inheritance, the 15 million. I've been thinking about it. Cole's fork paused halfway to his mouth. They didn't talk about the money much. It sat in trust administered by an independent lawyer waiting for Annie's 21st birthday. What about it? I don't want it. The table went quiet. Even Benjamin stopped shoving peas around his plate. What do you mean you don't want it? Elena asked. I mean, I don't need it. We have everything we need right here. Annie looked around the table, at her family, at her home. The Ashworths thought that money was the most important thing, that it could buy happiness or love or family, but it can't. She reached for her locket, the one she still wore every day. Inside were 2 pictures now. Victoria on one side, and on the other a picture of Cole, Elena, and Annie on her adoption day. I want to give it away. Most of it anyway. Set up a fund for orphans. Kids like me who need families, who need someone to fight for them. Annie's voice was strong, sure. Call it the Victoria Ashworth Memorial Fund. Make something good out of all that pain. Cole felt tears stinging his eyes. Are you sure, sweetheart? That's a lot of money. I'm sure Mama Victoria wanted me to be happy, wanted me to find people who love me. I did that. Now I want to help other kids do the same. Annie smiled. Besides, I don't need $15 million. I'm going to inherit a 50,000-acre ranch someday. That's enough for me. Elena was crying openly now. She came around the table and pulled Annie into a fierce hug. Your mother would be so proud of you, she whispered. So proud. That night, after the children were in bed, Cole and Elena sat on the back porch. The same place they'd sat so many times before, but everything was different now. Did we do okay, Cole asked. With Annie, with all of it. You're asking me, the woman who married you, to save a child we'd known for 3 weeks. Fair point. Elena took his hand. We did more than okay. We saved her life, and she saved ours. Cole thought about the man he'd been 5 years ago. Broken, closed off, dead inside. And he thought about the man he was now, husband, father, happy. I love you, he said. The words came easily now, naturally. I don't say it enough, but I do. I love you, Elena Maverick. I know. She squeezed his hand. I've known for years, even when you didn't. They sat in comfortable silence watching the stars come out. Inside, they could hear Annie singing to Diego, the same song she'd been humming that first night, the song Sarah used to sing to Benjamin, the song that had brought them all together. A rider approached in the darkness. Cole tensed, reaching for the rifle that was always nearby. Then he recognized the horse. Marcus Ashworth dismounted and tied his horse to the post. He made this trip twice a year now. Christmas and Annie's birthday. Quiet visits, no fanfare. Marcus, Cole said, standing. Good to see you. Cole, Elena. Marcus nodded to them both. Hope I'm not intruding. Never. Annie will be happy to see you. She's inside with the baby. Marcus smiled. Another one that makes 4 now. 4 and counting, Elena said. God willing. They found Annie in the nursery, rocking Diego back to sleep. She looked up when Marcus entered, and her face broke into a genuine smile. Uncle Marcus. The title still made Marcus's eyes shine. He'd earned it, slowly, over 5 years of visits and letters and proving that he wasn't like his brother. Hello, Annie, brought you something. He pulled a package from his coat. Found this in the attic last month. Thought you should have it. Annie opened it carefully. Inside was a dress, beautiful silk, obviously expensive, carefully preserved, and a note in Victoria's handwriting. For my daughter, for her wedding day. I hope she wears it and thinks of me. I hope she's happy. It was Victoria's wedding dress, Marcus said quietly. She never got to wear it. Your father, James Harper, he died in a ranch accident before they could marry. But she kept the dress, kept hoping. Annie held the dress up to the lamplight. It was beautiful. Would probably fit her in a few years. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for bringing her back to me. Piece by piece, boy. It's the least I can do. Marcus looked at Diego sleeping peacefully in Annie's arms. You've got a good life here, Annie. Your mother would be happy. I think so too. Marcus stayed for dinner, told stories about Victoria when she was young, about her kindness and her spirit and her laughter. Slowly, carefully, he was giving Annie the mother she'd never known. When he left that night, Cole walked him to his horse. Thank you, Cole said, for everything, for telling the truth, for coming back, for giving Annie her history. I owe her more than I can ever repay, Marcus said. I owed Victoria more, but this is a start. He mounted his horse. Randolph died last week, heart attack in prison. Cole said nothing, felt nothing. The man had wanted to kill his daughter. He couldn't summon sympathy. I'm not sorry, Marcus said. I know I should be. He was my brother, but I'm not. The world is better without him. Then we agree on that. Marcus nodded. Merry Christmas, Cole. Give my love to Annie. Will do. Cole watched him ride away. Then he turned and walked back to his house. His home, full of noise and life and love. Elena was cleaning up in the kitchen. Benjamin and Sarah were finally asleep. Diego was in his cradle, and Annie was in her room writing in her journal, the one she kept every night, writing down her thoughts, her dreams, her plans for the future. Cole paused in her doorway. You okay, sweetheart? I'm perfect, Papa. She looked up and smiled. Want to hear what I wrote today? Always. Annie read from her journal. Today, Uncle Marcus brought me Mama Victoria's wedding dress. It made me cry, but good crying, the kind that means you're grateful. I think about her a lot. Wonder what she was like, if we would have gotten along, if she would have liked the person I'm becoming. Annie paused, looked at Cole. Papa says she would have loved me. I think he's right, because she made sure I could find love even after she was gone. She gave me the locket, the gold for my care, the letter telling me to find people who choose to love me. And I did. I found Papa Cole and Mama Elena. I found Benjamin and Sarah and Diego. I found Uncle Marcus trying to make up for all the family's mistakes. I found everything she wanted me to have. Annie's voice grew stronger. Someday I'm going to have children of my own, and I'm going to tell them this story about how I almost died in a blizzard, how a man on a gray horse found me and saved my life, how he and his wife fought for me against the richest family in America, how they chose me, how they made me their daughter. And I'm going to tell them that family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about finding people who love you and holding on tight and never letting go. That's what Mama Victoria taught me. And that's what Papa Cole showed me. I'm the luckiest girl in the world, not because of the money, not because of the ranch, but because I know what it feels like to be loved, really, truly loved. And that's worth more than all the gold in all the banks in all the world. Annie closed her journal, looked at Cole with those green eyes that had seen too much sorrow and too much joy. Did I get it right, Papa? Cole couldn't speak past the lump in his throat. He just nodded. Good. Annie stood and hugged him. I love you. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for fighting for me. Thank you for being my papa. Thank you for letting me, Cole said. Thank you for choosing us back. They stood there for a long moment, father and daughter, holding on tight. Outside, snow began to fall, soft and gentle. Nothing like the blizzard that had nearly killed a 9-year-old girl 5 years ago. Nothing like the storm that had brought them all together. This was the good kind of snow, the kind that made everything clean and new, the kind that promised fresh starts and second chances and hope. Cole walked to the window and looked out at his land, 50,000 acres stretching to the horizon, his legacy, his empire. But that wasn't what mattered. What mattered was the house behind him, full of laughter and chaos and love, full of children who would grow up knowing they were wanted, knowing they were safe, knowing they were home. What mattered was Elena, who'd waited 30 years for a second chance at happiness and grabbed it with both hands. What mattered was Annie, who'd survived hell and come out the other side stronger, who'd chosen love over money, who'd forgiven the past and built a future. What mattered was family. Not the one you're born into, but the one you choose, the one you fight for, the one you build from nothing and protect with everything you have. Cole Maverick had lost one family to death, and he'd gained another through chance and choice and love. He'd take this one, every day, every time. He closed the curtain and walked back to the kitchen, to his wife and his life and his home, to everything that mattered. The snow fell heavier now, covering the prairie in white, erasing old tracks, making new paths. And in the warm house at the heart of 50,000 acres, a family settled in for the night. Safe, together, home.